No, the title is not clickbait. What you are about to see in this video is a rarity in the Dragon Ball community. Something that hasn't been seen since Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, and barely in Dragon Ball Super. And this, of course, my friends, is the existence of blood. If you don't believe me, I can prove to you without a shadow of a doubt that this is not photoshopped, this is not edited. These are the frames that show Vegeta with a scratched cheek, and on that scratched cheek we can actually see blood. Now I understand how rare this is, and I understand how Dragon Ball fans are going to be losing their minds at the sight of this. That this even more kiddie version of Dragon Ball can produce such a rarity that the core fans have to go back many years to remember. But I can confirm with you guys, the blood is real. I hope you guys enjoyed that intro. I just wanted to have a little bit of fun with that. But we are going to discuss the newest Dragon Ball Daima trailer today. And specifically, we are going to show certain frames because I can't show the trailer, because the last time I tried to show the trailer, I had to re-upload the video 5 different times because of the fact that I kept getting copyright claims. So, what are we going to talk about? Well, I'm not going to waste your time with the nitty-gritty. I'm just going to focus on the key frames that are most important to you in this video. And one of the first things that we have to discuss is the non-existence of Gohan. So in this main trailer of Dragon Ball Daima, we got a chance to see a lot more. And we're going to discuss this, but in none of the frames was there any signs of Gohan. In fact, there was one frame where we saw a collage of events that took place during the Buu saga, and I actually micro-analyzed every single one of these, and I didn't see Gohan. Maybe you guys can see a small figment of Gohan somewhere, but the only existence that Gohan even exists within Daima is the fact that Goten exists, and Mr. Satan exists, and Goku exists, and Chi-Chi exists. So hopefully this can remind the Dragon Ball fanbase that there's a Gohan. But it does seem like it's one of those things where Gohan is just off doing his thing in the world and nobody remembers or cares where he is. Now that we got that out of the way, let's focus on some key frames here. Now, when we look at the first few frames here, we can actually see that they're speaking in what appears to be a magical cant language, very similar to what was spoken in the Majin Buu arc. Obviously, everybody knows the whole magical cantation of Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo, Dabra, Abra, Kadabra, like all of that stuff was basically based off of magical cantations. But basically what we're discussing here is that the beginning of the trailer starts off with all these magical cantations, and you can actually see the imagery is absolutely beautiful in the background, guys. I love these frames. Like, the background art for this is beautiful. And we get this really interesting frame here where Bulma's like analyzing herself all over again. You can clearly see that one of the running jokes that has been evident in Dragon Ball Super is how Bulma constantly de-ages herself slightly by either using the Dragon Balls, finding her alternative methods as she's older than the Bulma that we saw in Dragon Ball Z, but looks even younger than her. And we see this interesting scene here following this whole gag trick thing where Bulma seems to be really happy with the fact that she's a lot younger, even though obviously she's too young. She's quite happy with the fact that she's regained her youth through this wish that took place. Now, the wish was actually briefly seen in this other frame that we have right here. If you look very, very carefully and actually count, you can see that the Dragon Balls are being utilized, which is why there are 7 specific stripes. And you can see in these 7 stripes right here that this is clearly the Dragon Balls being used, as we can also see Mr. Popo and Dende on the lookout. I also love this frame here too, guys, where we got a chance to see a reanimated, updated version of Goku killing Kid Buu. You don't actually get a chance to see Kid Buu specifically, but this is clearly something following the theme where this is supposed to be based off of what already happened in the Buu arc and is playing on the Buu saga themes. So this is clearly a flashback that they're using to remember who Majin Buu is, even though we obviously saw Majin Buu. And we also saw Majin Buu very briefly in this trailer too, right here, where I actually froze the frame. It was very, very quick, but you can actually see Fat Buu running around with Mr. Satan talking to Goku. Now, as we discussed in a previous video, Pan Kenzie is officially confirmed as the masked fighter, as we see this sequence right here of her taking the mask off and her traveling with Goku and Glorio, along with the Supreme Kai. Now, the opening theme song is actually a new song that was created for Dragon Ball Daima, specifically by the Grammy Award-winning artists Zed, Yukinojo Mori, and CK. And for those of you who want to know a little bit more about the details of the trailer specifically, you have to go to the official Dragon Ball website, because just like last time, there's additional information on the Dragon Ball website that you can't directly find in the trailer. And the opening theme is actually referred to as Jaka John. And for those of you who are interested, Zed is actually a German music producer, and he, like many people, grew up with Dragon Ball and had such an appreciation for the show that he was extremely inspired to do what he did for Dragon Ball Daima. Now, as we continue, we can also see that Goku is capable of turning into a Super Saiyan in this trailer, and actually, if you look again, he briefly turns into a Super Saiyan 2, which gives a lot of people Dragon Ball GT vibes. Yeah, Goku can fly, and he does retain a lot of his powers. Now, the question is, can he go into Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan Blue and all of the Ultra Instinct forms? And obviously, we still haven't gotten an absolute confirmation on the exact time period of this. But from what we've seen in the trailer, Goku is clearly using the powers that were utilized in Dragon Ball Z. But based off of the fact that there was no Beerus and Whis in this, and they were integral characters in Dragon Ball Super, clearly suggests that this is a completely different time period altogether, or it takes place before Super. So it's like in the gap that took place before Goku defeating Buu and then Super starting. Or it could also be one of those things where Goku can transform into those alternate transformations, but because of shock factor, they will hide that from us. Now, we also got a chance to see an interesting demon character here who has a striking resemblance to Sidra, the god of destruction. And to be specific, looking at this guy kind of reminds me of the Sugoroku space that we saw in Dragon Ball GT, where Goku was sent there when he was caught in between dimensions when he was dropped by the Kabuto Kai. Either way, when we go back to the demon world, we see this really interesting demon who bears a resemblance to multiple characters that we've seen in Dragon Ball. He's kind of like a fusion of different designs. But one of the first designs that I thought about was one of the more modern updates that we saw of the Yardrats, which was featured more in the Dragon Ball Super manga. And to be specific, he reminds me of the Elder Paibara who was helping out Vegeta. Now, we also got a close-up of this implied Makaioshin, who bears a very striking resemblance to the actual Supreme Kai himself. This character still doesn't have a name yet, but from what we've seen in the trailer and from what has been revealed, this guy works with Goma because the whole plot of Dragon Ball Daima is that they want a new Demon King, and there's a fight for it. Now, one of the things about this main Dragon Ball Daima trailer is that it cleared up some confusion between Master Roshi and Krillin. Now, it was pretty obvious from the first trailer that this image was supposed to be Master Roshi, but it looked so similar to Krillin with Roshi getting younger that people actually thought that this was in fact Krillin. But in this trailer, we actually get a direct close-up of Krillin as a kid all over again, and we can clearly see the difference between him and Roshi in this specific trailer. And last but not least, we also have an interesting female demonic-like character that has not been confirmed on the website, has not been confirmed in character designs, and it might be a minor character, but it does seem to be that she has some level of authority because she's dressed extremely well, and because of this, she's probably either a wife or some type of queen or princess or something along those lines. She might be one of those characters that will occasionally inject her opinion on certain matters from time to time, or she might have a much bigger role that we just don't know at the time. Now, I love this scene here where we got an image of 3 bodyguard-like characters in the demon realm with all of their eyes glowed up, and all of them have weapons too. Weapons are one of those things that lost their luster in Dragon Ball and was mostly featured in earlier Dragon Ball, and I love the fact that they're bringing that back, because for so long most characters didn't really use weapons. Yeah, there were some exceptions, but for the most part it was just punches, kicks, and energy blasts. So bringing weapons back adds another element to Dragon Ball that we just haven't seen much of over the years in some of the more modern fighting styles. Now, we also have this wolf guy here where there's no information about this character at all that I've double checked on the website and such, but it is this same wolf guy who is seemingly speaking to a much more prominent character in the background. Now, there's another bug-like entity that we see here who apparently is drinking either coffee or tea, and the first time that I saw this guy, I actually thought of the Thraxins from the Invincible series. And last but not least, I think the biggest key thing in the trailer, outside of the fact that Goku can turn Super Saiyan, so these guys aren't completely complete chumps relative to the other powerful characters in Dragon Ball is the fact that we saw Piccolo and Vegeta fighting. Now, their exact roles within the series haven't been fully defined yet, but it's safe to say that the interest within this series has definitely increased, because if you get Vegeta fans interested, then that will increase overall. And since there's only 5 Piccolo fans on the planet, we won't make that much of a budge, but it is good to see that Piccolo is going to have more involvement in this. So overall, guys, I just wanted to analyze some interesting things that we saw in the trailer here. Of course, I can't show you the whole trailer because I've gotten in trouble when I've tried to do this in the past, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and until next time, stay cool and stay safe, my friends.